Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. I tell you what, I'm pretty excited because I'm here with some cat fishermen, and I haven't had very many cat fishermen on the show, so dang it. I just had my first real good like catfish experts. And so there's so much to learn and so much that they can tell us about it, how they rig their boats and what kind of baits and things like that they're using. So we'll just start right off. Rodney, there's Rodney and Michael. So Rodney, tell us who you are and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Rodney Crimm, live in North Mississippi. Have been catfishing over 48 years or so. My dad started taking me when I was young. We fished below the spillway on Grenada Lake, fishing from the bank. And he always targeted big catfish, and I caught the bug. I caught a 13.5-pound flathead when I was about 7 years old. I'm holding a picture of it. Still got a picture of me holding it up, and it's almost as long as I was. So I was hooked. From that point on, I've been targeting catfish all my life. Now I don't even hardly fish for nothing else. Just go catch a few crappie to eat every once in a while.
You kind of spoiled because you guys can catch some big catfish. I mean, you guys aren't the average fisherman. You guys are targeting some big cats out there. But we'll come back to that. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, things like that.
Yes, sir. I'm Michael Haney. I live in North Mississippi. I've been fishing all my life. Of course, me and Rodney are brothers, so we fish together all the time.
Right.
The good thing with us being brothers, we know how each other fish, so when we pull up to something we know, there's no asking what we're doing. We know.
Yeah, so tell them a little bit, in case they don't know, like the catfishing tournaments, they've exploded.
The money's gotten much better. There's huge turnouts. We just fished a Sea Arc Invitational tournament at Wheeler, Lake at Decatur, Alabama, 3 weeks ago now.
Right.
And 190 something boats.
Wow.
And that's just Sea Arc owners. It wasn't even open to other.
Yeah, it wasn't even open to other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's growing continually year after year after year.
So, Michael, what are some of the big catfish circuits that they have out there?
Well, they have the Cat Masters.
Okay.
MRM has a Mississippi River Monsters. They have a tournament there out of Memphis.
Right.
Of course, Twisted Cat, that's another. They're having a tournament, I believe, Saturday at Helena, Arkansas. There's several different trails over in Alabama that fish on the Tennessee River. There's several trails there in Mississippi. I know there's some trails in Arkansas also that fish.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really boomed. I mean, the first time that we were ever asked to fish a catfish tournament, we kind of dared. They were like, hey, we don't think you can do it. First tournament, we didn't do good. Second tournament, we fished second. Next tournament, I was in a brand new boat. We won that one, $1,000. It was easy.
Yeah.
We were hooked.
Right. Yep. So most of the places where they're fishing, there's a river there. It's part of a river that might run into a lake, or be part of the Tennessee River or something like that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what's some of the most popular places that you are going back to year after year?
Of course, when they started talking about big catfish, we'd always heard, Wheeler, Wilson over in Alabama.
Right.
But they catch some huge fish in Santee Cooper.
Yeah.
James River.
Kerr Lake.
Kerr.
Of course, the Mississippi River.
Right.
No telling what's growing in there. I mean, they just caught a fish in Mississippi, 131 pounds. Blue cat.
That's a monster. Flathead.
Blue cat.
Blue cat.
Blue, yeah.
Wow.
And there was a fish caught several years ago by a guy over in Mississippi, and he took pictures. He couldn't get the fish into the boat by himself. He tied it, brought it to the boat ramp, had his wife take pictures, and there's been There's a video on YouTube where they've took pictures of known measurements that were in an estimated measurements, his hands compared to these fish, and somewhere between 146 pounds to over 200 pounds. And there's some more recent information that's fixing to be coming out about it. But he had a mount done, a replica from some measurements he took.
Right.
And they used the biggest form they had, and when they Bass Pro sent it back to him, he's like, my fish was bigger than this. So, it may have been could have been possibly up to close to a 200-pound fish.
So
he released it.
And he released it. So it's still out there swimming. There's opportunity for me yet to catch big fish. So tell them if they like entering one of the catfish tournaments, how do you do it? Do you have to qualify for them, or how does that work?
Well, now they have cut the boat limits. Used to there was no limit on boats on some of these big tournaments.
Right.
So they've cut it to 100.
Oh, really?
So they'll say, hey, we're going to open it tomorrow. Well, that 100 boats might be sold out in 30 minutes.
So there's no priority entry or anything like that
No,
yet.
It's open to the public, but you better be, when they say they're going to start entry at 7 o'clock one evening, you better be in line waiting to jump online and get your name in the hat, because they're not lasting long.
And what's the cost? What's usually the cost? What's the average cost? $350 for
a big tournament.
For a team?
Yes, sir.
Right?
For a
Okay.
team.
For two to three man teams. Some tournaments allow three, and some are only two person.
But that's mainly, the bigger tournaments with the bigger payouts. Tournaments in Mississippi, they're $100, $125. Smaller trails are.
Okay.
And you may have 25 or 30 boats at a good size small trail tournament. But these bigger tournaments, like the
sounds like they're filling up.
MRM at Memphis, or some of the bigger tournaments at Wheeler, Bama Blues, and this in January at Wheeler. Big, the Catmaster tournaments along the Mississippi River. They're big, $350 entry fee, and they fill them up in less than an hour usually.
Wow. Well, let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about equipment, because everyone loves fishing tackle. I love it because there's always new stuff, and there's always things that people use, and so tell us about your boat, because I happen to know you have a big one.
Yeah, I do. Don't ever take your wife and daughter with you to buy a boat, because they're the ones that chose this one. So
really,
I knew that I have an 8-year-old, so I know there's going to be friends that's going to want to go on the boat. So I bought a 26-foot Easy Cat. It's a Sea Arc. It's got 2 big benches on the front, so it's plenty of room.
There's enough room in there for her whole class, not just for a couple friends. Like her whole class. Like, I'm bringing all 28.
Yeah, it's big.
It's big.
It's a beast to handle on the water. It rides smooth, and it's still got the big live well like most of the other kids.
Is that what separates them? Is that what makes it a good catfish boat? Is that it?
Well, you got to have that live well capacity to keep these big fish.
So the live well in the back is 80 gallons.
Wow.
And then it's got a 25-gallon bait live well up front.
Oh, really?
So just to let folks know how good that live well is, I've had a flathead in my live well for over 24 hours now. And tomorrow morning he'll be in there 48. He's still alive. He's still strong, running circulation. Of course, we're equipped with oxygen.
Right.
We haven't pumped any oxygen to him, and I can tell you, you go out there and stick your hand in there, and he'll bite the fire out of you right now.
Yeah, and in fact, you pulled some out for a photo today, and he was like struggling. It looked like a stray cat, but like 100-pound stray cat that he was trying to wrestle out, and you were completely soaked. By the time you got him out, you were like, that thing had splashed you and tried to bite you. It was pretty cool.
when you talk about catfishing and having that big live well, you take the Sea Arc tournament this year.
Right.
There's two guys. The guys that won it, if I ain't mistaken, they had 2 bites all day. They caught a 80-something pound and a 50-something pound flathead.
Right.
And they weighed in 130-something pounds of fish for 2 fish. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And, when we're talking about big fish, me and Rodney, if the fish is over 15 pounds, we release them. We release every fish over 15 pounds. That's what's putting the brood back in your waters.
Yeah.
If we're going to catch fish to eat, we won't. I'd rather even have 10 and under if I'm gonna catch fish to eat. But we got to where we don't even do a whole lot of that. We just go catch them for the fun of it.
Tell us about the rods. Like, you must have some really strong rods to handle these cats.
So we normally fish with B&M Elites, medium heavy rod. I think we have a few heavy rods, but what we found out on sometimes with the heavy rod, it puts some tension when that fish bites, and you don't always take it. That medium heavy is the way to go. We fish with some Silvercat Magnums, which is a B&M rod also.
Right.
It's medium heavy, strong backbone rods.
The heavy rods, basically, we save those for if we're fishing Mississippi River and some real heavy current.
Current plays a big part on the flex of the rod you decide to pick.
On really heavy, and that really heavy current, and you get to fighting a big fish in it, you need that extra backbone that you're getting to work that fish in. Because Michael caught one a couple of years ago. It weighed like 28 pounds in about 5 mile an hour current. We were anchor fishing, and he was. I was asking him as he was trying to get him in, how big you think he is? About 40. And I mean, it's just the fish fighting you in that much current. It adds. It feels like it adds 15 pounds to him just right off the bat.
But it does. Which one fights harder, blue cat or flathead?
Blue cat. I mean, that flathead, he's going to stay hooked to the bottom a lot of times.
Right.
I just caught a 65-pound flathead at Wheeler.
Right.
And I've been there 4 minutes maybe. I not got the third rod out, get a bite, he runs. Of course, I reel down on him. My friends say, "Hey, do we need the net? How big is he?" I said, "He's big. Get the net quick." Of course, he comes up, and we're all in shock and awe because it's this huge flathead. My buddy says he's 40 pounds. I said, no, he's way over 40.
Wow. So you kind of hesitated when I asked that question. What do you think, blues?
The blues probably fight long. I won't say longer. They fight harder for a moment. But a big flathead is hard to get to the boat because it's like they're a log trying to stay on the bottom.
Wow.
You got to put some pressure on him for a little bit to get him. Now once he starts coming, he's not that hard of a fight. Now blue, you may get him. I mean, I caught a 56 in the Mississippi River a couple of years ago pre-fishing for a tournament over in Helena, Arkansas. I was by myself on a Sunday afternoon. It was about 95 degrees, and I just caught a 19-pound fish, and I get this fish to the boat 3 times before I get him in the net. I mean, I'd get him to the boat, and he'd pull 20 yards of line back off. I mean, it's just they're a beast.
Give us a tip, Michael, if you were to help them out. If they don't have much experience on catching big flatheads, what's a tip you would give to them? And then we'll let you, Rodney.
On catching big flatheads.
Yeah.
If I had to go somewhere I've never been, that's got some. First of all, we would rather fish a river.
Okay.
And a river with current is even better. But when I'm targeting flatheads, when we targeted flatheads, we took nothing but live bait with us.
Right.
We've learned that we can catch them as easy on cut bait as we can live bait. It's all about how you preserve your bait.
Right.
But when we're looking, and I'm sure Rodney's going to say the same thing, we're looking for structure. That's where that flathead is. He's under that structure.
Wood structure is what he's
Wood
talking
structure.
Wood. So they key on wood structure?
It's just been we catch more flatheads around wood structure than we do in semi-open water.
That, or if you can find a place that's got, when it gets real hot.
Yeah.
In some of our rivers, you'll find some mats of grass and stuff.
Right.
Well, that shades under there, and them fish are under there.
Right. If you had to give them a tip, he's saying current, find your wood structure, deep water. What would you say? How about equipment wise? If you were to give them a tip,
be sure if you're anchor fishing,
right,
monofilament line, because it just withstands abrasions a whole lot better than braid does.
Right.
We use braid if we're back bumping. If we're on the Mississippi River or Tennessee River and we got enough current, we can back bump. You want that braid then for the sensitivity of being able to feel your weight hitting the bottom and walking that bait. But if you're fishing around structure, rocks, particularly around rocks, and mono is going to last you a whole lot longer.
What size mono do you use?
30 to 40 pound for our main leader, and then an 80 pound hook leader.
Right. And are you using a 3-way swivel with the weight? What's your setup on that?
Most of the time we're using just a regular barrel swivel with our leader below it, and then a sinker slide that slides up and down our line.
Okay.
And then our weight clips onto that sinker slide.
All right. Sinker slide, where's that coming from? And the stop, what company makes those?
Michael sells them through Flathead Fever Tackle.
All right. Well, that makes it easy. Look at that. They threw in a plug. They waited that long.
We use Flathead Fever Tackle hooks. It's a circle hook that's sharp, and we've got some that's over a year old, and we still catch a fish on them.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Huh. So, you catch smaller ones too, though, don't you? You don't always catch.
We don't always catch big fish.
Like, what do you think the average size is of flatheads that you catch? If you had to say in a year's time, we catch 7, 8 pounders, 13 pounders,
12 to 20.
12 to 20, because you're using bigger live bait or cut bait.
Yeah, I mean, we may be using a piece of skipjack this big,
right,
or this big.
Bigger.
You know, we may be fishing a big piece of skipjack with 2 hooks in it. You know, a hook and
right.
You know, if we're using them
and a stinger in the back,
and a stinger further down on it.
Yep, like octopus hooks. Are those octopus self-setting hooks?
Yeah, there's circle hooks with offset.
Yep.
And
all right. Well, that takes us to Tackle Time, because we were talking about hooks and stuff. And Tackle Time is sponsored by PICO Lures. PICO Lures has a complete line of hard baits and soft baits. I'll have to say they don't target catfish, but I can say their crankbaits in pink, if you drag them on the flats on Beaver Lake here in June, up in there, you're going to catch a lot of catfish, because those catfish like that color. So, but anyway, you can check out their stuff there. And they have products for all game fish, from walleye, stripers, bass, crappie, you name it. It'll catch it. Even catfish it'll catch. So actually my wife caught one that was getting up in that 50-pound range on one out of a kayak, and it pulled her around. And all I could imagine was like Jaws, you know, where it was getting the boat pulled backwards. That thing was just pulling her around, but it's pretty cool to have them bite that. But you can check out their stuff at picolures.com. Rodney, if they wanted to check out more about you and see what you're doing, where would they go?
I've got a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yazoo Yellow Cats.
All right. Yazoo.
YAZOO Yellow Cats.
Right. Like Yazoo, Mississippi, right?
Right.
Yep. Is that where you're from?
No, we
okay.
just have fished the Yazoo River a lot.
Okay.
Over the years, so that's kind of our home waters.
All right. And Michael, if they wanted to find out more about you, where would they go?
Of course, I've got Facebook, Michael Haney. And then if you want to check out Flathead Fever Tackle, it's flatheadfevertackle.com. It's a veteran-owned business.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you guys being on the show. Hopefully we get some questions. Some people call you up and want to visit some more about catfishing. Like I always say, make sure you keep your hook sharp.